Hello, today we're going to talk about the brand new doctor formulated natural menopause support formula, Phyto-Adapt. Good for perimenopause and menopause. This is truly a holistic herbal blend based on science and traditional herbal wisdom. And I want to talk to you today about the product and explain how it works, why it works, the science behind it, and also some of the other steps that we took along the way to ensure that this is the most premium menopause supplement that you can get on the market today. My name is Dr. Blake Myers. I've been practicing in naturopathic medicine for well over a decade. Really, I have 15 plus years of medical experience. I worked also in clinical and an emergency room setting for many years. But most of my clinical work was in naturopathic medicine, working with women, usually between the ages of 35 to 65. And as such, so many women were going through the perimenopausal transitional time and into postmenopause. And I needed to really understand that as a clinician and understand what are my patients experiencing? What's the science behind this? What can I do from a conventional medical as well as alternative medical approach? What's the integrative approach that I can take here? And so through that, I really just grew a passion for supporting women in my practice, and also the women in my life are some of the most important people. And so I've also wanted to be able to continue to support the women, friends, family members in my life as well with this. So that's kind of how I got here with that. And I'm also a graduate professor in integrative and functional nutrition at Saybrook University. And so doing some of that work and the research that I've done in my time there, I've dug into what's happening in the female body during this time frame, and from a functional nutrition perspective, how can we understand how to support the female body? So out of all of this experience, I created Phyto-Adapt, and I'll go into what this formula is, why it's unique, why you're not going to see anything else really like this on the market, and how it can support you with the majority of menopausal symptoms that you may be experiencing. So the first thing that I want to point out with this slide is that there's a lot more than hormones going on in the menopausal transition and in postmenopause. There's a lot more to consider than hormones. Of course, a primary driver of what's going on is that the ovaries are declining in their capacity through perimenopause into menopause when the estrogen and progesterone levels are very much dropped in the entire body because the ovaries are not producing them anymore. But that has downstream effects to different body systems. And even if you do hormone replacement therapy, many of these other systems can still have impacts because these changes are truly a full body transitional time for women. So, beyond hormones, we have to consider things like the immune system and the changes happening there. The digestive system is undergoing a major change in the microbiome. So, you get things like gas and bloating and IBS-like symptoms. Within the immune system, that's what's controlling inflammation and oxidative stress largely. So, anything related to inflammation and oxidative stress, which you could have almost any symptom from that. Cardiovascular disease risk will increase, but a lot of women get joint pain and muscle pain during this time of life. So it's important to consider inflammation, oxidative stress. The nervous system is one of the primary areas that's hit. The brain is changing a lot during this time of life. So from this is where you can get sleep disruption, and brain fog also can be related to inflammation. There's can be mood shifts, so swings in mood, and anxiety, perhaps depression even. So these are considerations that we need to have from the hormonal system perspective, and in part its relation to the nervous system. There's night sweats and hot flashes, right? That's what everyone kind of knows about perimenopause and menopause, but they're definitely not the only symptoms. From a medically conventional medical perspective, there's at least 30 plus signs and symptoms of menopause, but actually anybody who's in the space will tell you, no, there's like 100. There's a lot of different symptoms because hormones impact every body system, and as those body systems are getting used to a new hormonal balance, they're going to need to adapt and shift. And so adapt is the word I want you to kind of key in on here, which is kind of where the name came from for the Phyto-Adapt formula. And metabolism is the last one to consider. That's where you're going to get fatigue, and you're going to get body fat distribution changes of visceral fat increasing, you might start gaining weight. It's very common. And so these are just some of the areas that need to be considered beyond just thinking, oh, we need to replace estrogen and progesterone perhaps, and maybe testosterone. That's kind of the standard now. Hormone replacement therapy is really starting to come back in to medical practice nationwide and worldwide because the research is there to support it, and a lot of the misconceptions in the past about hormone replacement therapy have been debunked. But it's still not the only thing going on, and if that's evidenced by many women take hormone replacement therapy. Some actually feel worse. That's not the common thing, but some actually feel worse for some different reasons. But commonly, women will have a lot of improvement in different symptoms, especially like hot flashes and night sweats. But so many women will tell you, like, yeah, hormone replacement therapy definitely was a noticeable difference. Like, it really helped me, but I'm not like back to where I was. I still feel pretty tired most of the time. I still have a lot of brain fog, right? And there's still changes in my metabolism. I can tell my stamina for working out is less, and I still have this weight gain. So there's a lot of and sleep may still be disrupted, like lots of different things. So it doesn't address everything, and that just points to the fact that if hormones were the only consideration to have for you during perimenopause and menopause, then there would be no need for this conversation or supplements to be out there because you could just do hormone replacement therapy and it would be the magic bullet. But it's not always the magic bullet. It's often not. That's not anything against hormone replacement therapy. This is just a different conversation about how do we use natural medicine and herbal medicine to support the female body during this time frame beyond getting too narrowly focused on hormones. So I teach systems biology in the graduate program that I teach. And systems biology approach to medicine is largely what a naturopathic medicine and functional medicine approach is about. So we're thinking about systems like the digestive system. We're thinking about the HPA axis, which is like the brain adrenal connection, right? And all other systems. And how are they interconnected? And so as I was putting together this formula, I pulled in my knowledge and experience of what are the primary body systems that get imbalanced or dysfunctional for women during the menopausal transition. And so, of course, I was thinking about the hormonal system right away, but also thinking about the adrenal system and the talk between the brain and the adrenals and how that can get dysregulated pretty easily during this time of life. And cortisol can increase, or there can be a decrease in resiliency to stress. Stressors, as a big term, could be mental and emotional stressors, work, relationships, and so on, but it could also be physical stressors and less ability to adapt to physical stressors to the body, like injury or infection or working out or these sorts of things. So I took into account the main body systems and looked at what are the herbs that I have used clinically and that I know from research support these body systems well. And by targeting foundational body systems and cellular metabolism, right, and the inflammation and oxidative stress component, I was able to put a grouping of herbs together that create a synergy. They create a synergy in the way that they support these individual body systems, but these body systems are not in isolation, right? They're overlapping in the way that they function in the body. There's nothing in isolation in the human body. It's a complex, interconnected system. So when you start to address foundational body systems like this, you start to get synergy. You start to get an effect that is greater than the sum of the individual parts. Okay. And so I was able to bring this together, and also I was able to get it into a dose based on what doses are used in research as well as what I've used in clinical practice, and some of which I've found through ancient use, such as with a couple of the Chinese medicine herbs. I was able to get to a dose that's really manageable. It's 2 capsules a day. And I'll go into the dosing more, but that's another nice thing. You don't have to, it's easy to work into your routine, and you just can take it with a meal. You don't have to like have to think about taking something 3 times a day. So most of the menopause supplements out there, you'll see, I mean, you can look at them. There are some that have one ingredient and, it'll be one ingredient and they'll charge you $40 for the bottle. And it's like that one ingredient is probably a really good ingredient. Um, But if you have one ingredient, it will address one aspect in your body, and it will only address one or a handful of symptoms that are directly related to that body system, right? So maybe it's the hormonal system. For example, you could have a one ingredient supplement that, yeah, it helps with night sweats and hot flashes, and perhaps it helped a little bit with balancing your mood, right? Or something like that. Whatever the hormonal uh, aspect of your body is driving symptoms the most, that, one ingredient supplement, for example, might help. But what if instead of just the one ingredient, you used that ingredient that makes a lot of sense, but you also said, well, what else is going on? And you used a couple of other ingredients that helps to balance some of the body's natural healing mechanisms and some of the parts of the system that are getting dysregulated and balanced in other ways, right? Well, now you just added to the benefit. You built the resiliency of the body, and that's a lot of what we're trying to do with this supplement, and what we're doing in naturopathic medicine. If you're not familiar, is looking at the innate healing capability of a body. What are the healing mechanisms of the body that are naturally present, and how do we stimulate those things? How do we optimize them? How do we increase resiliency in the body, and how do we restore health? And so that is the philosophy that's behind the science of this supplement. There are two major mechanisms that I want to mention about how this works. So, one of them is adaptogens. Adaptogens are herbs that I have been using for my entirety of my medical career. And adaptogens have been used for hundreds of years, in some cases, and in some others, thousands, depending on the adaptogen. Some mushrooms are adaptogens, a lot of herbs are adaptogens of various sorts. As a general concept, the name describes what it does. It helps the human body to adapt. What does it help you to adapt to? Well, it helps you to adapt to mental, emotional, and physiologic stressors. It does this in many ways, and interestingly, the definition of adaptogens is that there is no one or two things, single things that it does. It's a broad range of effects on the body where you get a whole system kind of tonifying of the body. You're improving cellular metabolism, let's say. You're improving cortisol response. You're improving the immune system balance and lowering inflammation and oxidative stress, blood sugar regulation, a number of effects that put all together kind of this thing I was saying before, just this one group of plants is it equals an effect greater than the sum of just one of these body systems. So it's an amazing group of plants. And so a couple of the ingredients that are in here, which I'll talk about more in a minute, but Schisandra chinensis is one of my favorite adaptogens. It's a berry, and I have a slide that has some of the benefits of it. That's one of the main ones that I use. And I've used a number of other ones in practice, but for a couple of reasons here, I decided to put astragalus membranaceus in this blend. I'll go into those ingredients a little bit more, but that's what adaptogens are. They essentially help build a resiliency in your body. And the reason that that's important also is because that is essentially, and from one model and framework of thinking about menopause, to think about what's going on, is that it's just a large stressor to your body. It's a large stressor for your body to go through this major decline in hormones. Hence, that's why a lot of these other body systems that I'm mentioning can get imbalanced or dysregulated or not be functioning optimally because they're having to adapt to a new hormonal milieu, right? So, if we can help your body to be more resilient and adapt as a general sense, that already goes a long way to help many of the symptoms that you're experiencing and to help you feel more resilient and vital during the menopausal transition and in postmenopause. Now, phytoestrogens are the other really interesting, herbal ingredient here. Most women are familiar with this term if it's in relation to soy. Soy has isoflavones in it, which are a type of phytonutrient chemical that is a phytoestrogen. And what phytoestrogens are is there's chemical structures that mimic the structure of your natural estrogen close enough that they can fit into the same receptors. Estrogen has its impacts in your body by fitting into receptors like a little lock and key. These phytoestrogens are close enough that they can fit in that little, they're like the key, they can fit into that lock a little bit to where they don't have near the sort of potent effect as your natural estrogen would. But they have a weak effect, and that can create what I kind of call, you can think of the estrogen decline during menopause being like estrogen withdrawal. Your body has to come to a new set point to where now it's like, okay, this is the estrogen levels that I'm now used to. And that's when the symptoms will start to calm down after you're in menopause for maybe a couple of years. Hot flashes and night sweats and all these things that you're experiencing start to calm down and you start to feel more resilient naturally and like a new you. The bridge system, the reason that the business is called the bridge system is because we're trying to bridge that gap from premenopause to post-menopause where all of these symptoms are happening. So phytoestrogens help in that, what you might think of like estrogen withdrawal to the receptors, and it just fills those receptors a little bit and can be supportive to easing that kind of withdrawal of the estrogen being there by giving a light stimulus, like a weaker uh, but activating effect, such as estrogen would do. So most women are familiar with using soy, but I did not include soy in here. Soy is a common food sensitivity for a lot of people. And I wanted to actually go with a couple of herbs that have phytoestrogen activity and that have research behind them that I like and wanted to include in here. So I steered away from soy. Many women are glad that there's not soy in this product, and I will talk about those phytoestrogen herbs in a minute. So the resilience core of this system, the bridge system, is about tonifying the entire system, as I've talked about. So a couple of adaptogens that I've used in here, these are 4-to-1 extracts, which means it's just kind of the extract is 4 times more potent than just a standard 1-to-1 extract, is kind of what that means. So it's a more concentrated extract, more potent, which means you can it's a little easier to get it into a couple of capsules, right? The dose that you want instead, because it's more concentrated instead of having to take, 4 times the pills, let's say. I really love Schisandra chinensis. It's a really wonderful liver supportive herb as well as a cortisol adrenal supportive herb. It's sleep promoting. Research shows also that it benefits in menopause specifically. There's research that shows that it benefits hot flashes and night sweats and heart palpitations as a few of the symptoms. So it made a lot of sense to me beyond the fact that it's just a nice adaptogen, that there's also the research behind menopause on it. Astragalus, this has been used for thousands of years. It's a Chinese herb. Both of these are, but this is a root and it's really supportive to the immune system. It's very anti-inflammatory and supportive to balanced inflammation, lowered inflammation, and it has a nice impact on lowering blood sugar as well. If many other impacts that adaptogens have, but those are the couple that I think of here that I just wanted to mention. And so these two together, I really like for supporting the immune system and also supporting the stress response. These other herbs that I used are beyond being researched. These are very much traditionally used herbs that just have a lot of history behind them as well, beyond the research. And so I really dug into um, these herbs and the history of them and if they made sense with the whole picture. So we've kind of got the adaptogen piece that we already talked about, the phytoestrogen piece we'll talk about in a minute. But what else is there that we need to think about beyond those two supportive mechanisms, right? So black cohosh is an herb that has been used historically. It's a North American herb, and there's a lot of clinical research on it. There's a nice meta-analysis, which is the meta-analyses are like the top tier of research that you want on something. They look at all of the quality randomized controlled trials on a drug or an herb or something, right, a substance to or a procedure or something to see like is it effective compared to placebo, right? And so Black Cohosh has a nice meta-analysis from 2023, I believe it was, that came out and showing that it's beneficial for hot flashes as well as somatic symptom relief of menopause. So that means a lot of different symptoms. This meta-analysis didn't break down every single thing. They didn't break down, are they talking about joint pain? Um, or are they talking about night sweats? They didn't break it down into that, but there was significant effect on this category of somatic or body symptoms you could think of. But this makes sense because black cohosh, beyond being a women's health herb and used for menopause, traditionally, it's also traditionally been used for things like joint pain because it's anti-inflammatory. So if you look at some of those uses, it made a lot of sense. I was thinking, well, okay, it's got this great meta-analysis for menopause, but it also uh, shows benefit for things such as joint pain and muscle pain that are related to inflammation. And it's not like if you're thinking, oh, I've mentioned inflammation a lot. Herbs attenuate or modify inflammation in different ways. So it's not necessarily like stacking all of these herbs that have anti-inflammatory effect. It's not like stacking them in the way that's like they're all doing the exact same thing. And now it's like instead of taking 200 milligrams of ibuprofen, you're taking 1,000 milligrams. It's not like that because a lot of them work to modify inflammation in different ways. And they're gentler than a pharmaceutical would be. So it's kind of one of the nice things about herbal medicine is that it has a gentler approach, but when you use multiple herbs wisely, it will have an effect that each of them gently adds to a larger effect in the body, but it also does it through multiple ways, which makes it a little safer a lot of times because, if you, whereas like a pharmaceutical that acts on one specific enzyme or biochemical pathway, um, you can get a lot of problems if you're building the dose up to have stronger effects of that one pathway. But if you have gentle effects on many different pathways, you still get a large effect, right? So it's just kind of a nice little nuance and the beauty of herbal medicine in that. Dong Quai is a really amazing herb. It's known as the female ginseng. It's been used for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, and I would just say as a general like female hormonal wellness herb, this is one that I always think of. Uh, and I always use it in a formula. I've never just used Dong Quai on its own. So Angelica sinensis is the Latin name. When it's in formula, especially, it just always seems to clinically enhance the impacts of other herbs in the formula. And, there's varying research on the potential hormonal impacts this might have, maybe phytoestrogen impacts. There's research on its sort of blood building, tonifying aspects. It traditionally has been used a lot for anemia pictures. So there's this idea that it builds up the blood, and that's also an idea in traditional medicine. When I say traditional, I don't mean like modern medicine. I mean old, like ancient medicine, right? Of different sorts. That the blood is what takes everything, all the nutrients to all the cells of your body. So building up the blood is a very important aspect of building up vitality. So Dong Quai has this historical use to it, and I've just seen it be an amazing urban formula. So for hormonal needs for women. So I put it in there based on the historical use and my clinical experience. And then um, licorice root, depending on the dose, especially has different impacts in the body. It's in a low dose in this formula, which is important to mention because higher dose of licorice can cause blood pressure to go up. It will cause your cortisol to be higher, actually, if you take high doses of it, and that higher cortisol can make your blood pressure go up. But that's why it's important to mention that this is a low dose of licorice because I'm not trying to have any kind of like cortisol effects with the dose in Phyto-Adapt. The licorice root has been used historically in Chinese medicine as a kind of synergizer in in herbal formulas. It's in something like 60% of Chinese medicine formulas, and there are like thousands of Chinese medicine formulas. So it's no small fact that licorice shows up as much as it does. And I don't study Chinese medicine, but as I've come to understand it from others, that is the reason that that's one of the main roles there is a synergizer. So just that knowledge that I've gained from others sharing, it's just something that, and one of my herbal medicine teachers said the same thing and always used it that way in low doses. So that's just something that, again, that I learned and have used in my practice. I've used licorice in a lot of formulas for that reason. And so it's in a low dose in here where you shouldn't need to worry about blood pressure impacts. If you have hypertension, of course, monitor your blood pressure always. But I really would expect no impact on the blood pressure from the dose that licorice is in this formula. But licorice also is, it's another one of these herbs that it's kind of like got so many uses. It's almost like if you say, "Oh, can licorice help with this?" The answer is probably yes. There's some other herbs that are kind of like that in the world that it just does so many things that that it that it helps multiple body systems, such as the liver, for example. So it's just another nice herb to have in here, despite that I'm also just using it to tie this formula together and synergize everything and potentially help absorption. That's kind of one of the other reasons about licorice. Might help absorption with the other herbs, right? Okay, so this is the phytoestrogen page, and I already mentioned that phytoestrogens target estrogen receptors. Well, there's three different estrogen receptors in the body, but the two main ones that usually get focused on are alpha and beta. So there's good research on Rapontic rhubarb as an herbal extract that fits mainly into these beta estrogen receptors, and the research shows great impacts on hot flashes and multiple menopausal symptoms with the use of Rapontic rhubarb extract. And this is one of those things, though, where I'm like, well, okay, I could just put a Rapontic rhubarb extract in a pill and you're probably going to have benefit. But why not take an intelligent, holistic approach like what I'm describing, right? So Rapontic rhubarb is one of these that it's a great thing on its own, but there's so much more we can do. And so it attaches itself to the beta estrogen receptors, which helps some of the estrogen decline symptoms. I also put hops flower in here because hops flower has a number of phytoestrogens in it. They bind to the alpha receptors, so that's kind of addressing the other estrogen receptors. But one of the things that's really nice about hops is it's a calming herb, and so many women have issues with sleep and anxiety also during perimenopause and menopause. And so hops is a really nice one because it's a very calming herb. It activates the GABA system in your brain, which is the calming side that your brain has an excitatory side and an inhibitory, or a calming and and stimulating side. So the calming side is the GABA side, and hops flower activates that gently and can create a calming effect. So it's nice to have in there for that. And with the Schisandra also, having research behind it that it can be calming and supportive to sleep. Those two both made good sense for just all of these different reasons, right? I think you can see now how I'm tying the ingredients that I chose to put in Phyto-Adapt, not always for just any one reason. There's a lot of thought and research and experience that went into choosing what are the best herbs for this and what herbs address multiple different things going on at once. There are a lot of other things to consider when you're investing in a supplement for your health, right? Of course, the ingredients matter, the sourcing matters, um, the thought into the formulation matters, which is everything I was just going through. But a lot of people don't also necessarily think about how is the supplement packaged and what's the form of delivery. So this is a really important piece that I wanted to go beyond just thinking about the how amazing the formula is, right? I want to think about, well, how is this packaged and how are we delivering it so that people get the optimal dose. The capsules that we use are a specialized capsule. They're a cellulose capsule on the outside, and they also have what's called hypromellose on the outside of it. So this is something that is resistant to your stomach acid. And it doesn't get broken down until it's in the small intestine. So this helps to ensure that the stomach acid, being so potent as it is, can alter chemical structures of many different things. And it can break down things, right? Such as it breaks down your food. So I wanted to get the herbs past the stomach and have them release in the small intestine so that they would hit the small intestine and the microbiome, which also help the microbiome helps many of these herbs to be active and do their work. Actually, wanted the capsule to not open up until it gets into the small intestine. So that's we invested in these specialized capsules for this reason. And then on the inside, beyond the herbs, there's a little bit of magnesium stearate, and this is very common in supplements. And just mentioning it in case you're wondering at all, like why is that in there? What is it? So it's magnesium, and then it's the magnesium is connected to stearate, which is a fatty acid. And the reason that this is used commonly is because when a manufacturer is filling a capsule, they have to have some way for the powders of the herbs and everything not to clump together, or they just simply can't fill efficiently and get it to work right. So magnesium stearate helps to make the powders flow basically, so they can just pour it into the capsule, right? It's a vegetable sourced ingredient. And it's important that you know also that we really, really took a lot of effort to make sure that this is an allergen-free formula. So it's vegan, so it's going to be dairy-free, egg-free. Um, the capsules are vegan. So any of the animal product concerns, whether it's for the reason of being vegan or if it's for the concern of any type of animal product that you're sensitive or allergic to, it's free of that. It's sugar-free, it's gluten-free, it's non-GMO. And another thing that again I've not seen that any other supplement that I've noticed really take this into account is that ashwagandha is in the Solanaceae family, which is the same as tomatoes and potatoes and peppers. And the reason that that matters is there are some people who are sensitive to the Solanaceae family. So I wanted to try to make this supplement as friendly as possible to as many women as possible so that you don't see Phyto-Adapt and you see that there's ashwagandha in there and you're like, crap, again, another one I can't take because I can't do Solanaceae. So I really try to take in all of the allergy, food sensitivity uh, types of considerations into this. It's also nut free. You can find all of that on our website, but those are the main ones. You'll notice when you look at the ingredients on the back of the bottle that it just says the total milligram dosage. It doesn't say for every individual ingredient how much of it's in there. And this was really given a lot of thoughtful consideration. And there's arguments for both ways of why someone might put all of the ingredients in their doses and why someone might not. And I landed on having a proprietary blend, which means the ingredients aren't in there. And this is the reason why. For one, it took me a very, very long time and a lot of energy and a lot of knowledge and expertise, right? And clinical experience as well, right? To be able to come up with this. So part of it was that like this did not just come, I did not just come up with this overnight. And um, if I just put the ingredients of everything out there, there's going to immediately be other supplement companies that don't care about the kind of quality that I care about, that don't necessarily need to follow the same exact doses because they think like, oh, I could put like more of this one in there and less of this one and make it cheaper and that sort of thing. I don't want that to happen because this took a long time and a lot of care for you, the people who are going to invest in this, to put it in research-backed and clinically backed doses. So I felt like, you know what, it's going to actually be like a consumer protection kind of situation if I can have a proprietary blend instead of having all of these out there for anyone to just copycat and then try to make a cheap knockoff and source cheaply and that sort of thing. So that was really kind of what that was about when I decided to do a proprietary blend. I already mentioned it's really easy to work into your routine because you only have to do 2 capsules a day. Now you can do 1 capsule twice a day, but I would recommend doing both of them. Um, if you happen to be a sensitive person, now this is a very gentle kind of formula. It's unlikely that you're going to have any negative kind of reaction to it. Um, Potentially, if anything, if you have a sensitive digestive system, perhaps there could be a little bit of adaptation, if you will, that your gut has to go to with it. But for the most part, this is very gentle. You shouldn't need to worry about that. If you're really sensitive, though, to herbs or other types of treatments, which some people are, like if you know that, just take 1 capsule and see how you do for a few days, 3 to 5 days maybe, and you should do fine. And then you can just increase to 2 capsules a day, which is the serving size that I recommend. And since this would probably tend to be more towards the calming side for most women, right? I think the nighttime makes the most sense. You can take it in the morning, that's totally fine. But typically, I would recommend take it in the evening with a meal. And unless for some reason it feels like the adaptogens feel like a little more stimulating to you, then of course take it in the morning. You listen to your body and what's going to be best. But for the most part, take it in the evening, I would say, with a meal. The timing for this, it's a little bit variable, sometimes within a couple of weeks, but usually I'm going to say 3 weeks and then just give it the fourth week to kind of step back and reassess and say, like, okay, where am I now compared to where I was 4 weeks ago? Because herbal medicine typically has a gentle approach that builds, and a lot of these herbs are also kind of tonifying or restorative as is a way you might think of that. So it doesn't happen the same way as, I take this pharmaceutical and it shuts down this pathway or does this thing really powerfully. Yeah, you notice a symptom response immediately. Typically, when I'm working with patients, I will say, with most treatments that I do that are gentle and restorative like this, I'm saying, okay, give it 3 or 4 weeks. We don't follow up to see how they're doing for 4 to 6 weeks because that's really the most appropriate time for most treatment approaches like this to say, okay, now where are you? Don't look at the day to day. Don't even look at like after week one, how am I from where I was last weekend? You can do that, but if even if it doesn't seem like much change has happened, that doesn't mean that it's not working or doing anything. You need to give it the appropriate time. And 4 weeks a lot of times is a good time to say, okay, where am I at compared to where I was a month ago? You can start by writing down how many hot flashes you have a day and how intense are they and how are your night sweats. You can make a little log of things and you can reassess. Most of the time, I would always say do 2 months worth. I mean, you should definitely be noticing some changes by the fourth week. But again, the way that I've seen these work, and it's variable, some women might notice within a week they're feeling it, and some women it might be by like week 6, and they're like, oh, wow, I'm really noticing a difference now. It's a little bit variable and individual in that way. So I would always say to, if you're not sure, give it 2 months. 2 months is really the most appropriate kind of time frame to really judge how something's working for you. That's a gentle kind of herbal approach like this is. So who is Phyto-Adapt for and not for? So any woman going through perimenopause or menopause, the way that this formula is designed is to help both of those stages of the menopausal transition and postmenopause, especially if you're having stubborn symptoms, like it doesn't matter what you do. It's just like the fatigue and the brain fog won't budge and the sleep issues won't budge. And what you're seeing is like and in joint pain, let's say like multiple different areas of your body are being impacted. That's a good reason to use a formula like Phyto-Adapt because of the holistic nature and everything I was describing about the ingredients and why they're in there. This is a really good formula designed specifically for that kind of situation for sure. If you want a holistic, plant-based, low allergy, non-toxic solution for midlife, this is a great option. This is what I've been doing for, my career and have a lot of passion to bring effective natural medicine with this holistic systems-based kind of framework to people. So, if you believe in that and you want to experience in that, then the Phyto-Adapt is a great choice for you. Now, currently on HRT, there's no contraindication in medicine. That just means there's no reason that you can't do it with HRT. There's no safety concern with doing it with HRT, but you should talk with your doctor always. Because if you're on any medications, you should talk with your doctor. But with HRT, the phytoestrogens may impact HRT dosing, for example. So that's just worth considering and talking to your doctor about. But absolutely, it's safe with HRT, and you can absolutely get all the benefits from many of the herbs that are in there, right? So that's a common question that I get. And it is always important to talk to your prescribing doctor and your unique health situations. If you're pregnant, nursing, absolutely don't use this supplement. If you're actively trying to conceive, don't use this supplement. You don't need to be doing anything that's messing with your hormones, for example. Um, any medications that now, I already said any medications, yes, but especially any medications that have a narrow therapeutic window. Now, this means that there's a very specific dose of the medication that you need to be on, and it's a narrow window, meaning like if you go too low, then you're not at the dose you need to be on, and if you go too much higher, then you're in trouble. That kind of thing. Any narrow therapeutic window medication, a blood thinner would be a really good example. You should talk to your doctor if you're on a blood thinner before you use this medication. And if you have any kind of hormone sensitive cancer or hormone sensitive health condition. If you have severe autoimmune disease, you should talk to your doctor about this and how this may impact your immune system. It may help your immune system with autoimmunity, but depending on what you have going on, maybe it's too stimulating to your immune system. So those are always good things to talk to your doctor about for sure. And any other medications that impact hormones, you should talk to your doctor. So if you're on a selective estrogen receptor modulator or a SERM, talk to your doctor about that. Beyond the herbs that are in this and the formulation and the thought and time and experience that went into that, right? And the capsule, I said beyond that, there's the capsule, but beyond that, uh, we want you to know here at the Bridge System that we take every step of the way as essential to make sure that when you invest in the Bridge System products, that you get a premium product that had thought put into it at every step. That includes the packaging, not just the capsule, but the packaging the capsules are in. That has to do with third-party testing to make sure that what we put in the bottle is clean and that it's free of heavy metals and that it is what we're saying it is, and making sure that that third party, that it's not our lab testing it. We're not testing our product and saying, yep, that's what we want to have in there. We're having someone else do it. So that's really important that you understand that. This is made in the USA product. So this is manufactured and packaged and sold out of the United States of America. So that is an important thing to us as well, that we're supporting local workers in the factories and the places that do this work. Um, the amber glass bottle, I want to mention this. So, number one, I did not want to use plastic. Plastic is a very hard thing to avoid in our world in many cases, but I knew I did not want a plastic bottle to just add more to the system of that. So, I really wanted to use glass because it's environmentally friendly. But the other kind of thing that I have always loved about glass bottles is they're reusable. I have so many, different glass bottles from different supplement that I got or a tincture or something, and I save them and use them for all kinds of things. So that's amazing. I think that it's something we can reuse. But they're also the amber color is also intentional. The amber bottle will block UV rays that can deteriorate the ingredients of the herbs in the bottle before you even took it, right? So the amber color of the glass was also a really important and thoughtful piece of the whole process because we want to make sure that what you're getting is a premium product and that we can guarantee that it's going to be potent for you, right? If you're ready to feel like yourself again, and you need natural answers for this natural life transition. This is something that I'm passionate about. The team at the Bridge System is passionate about. We want to bring natural medicine to women, effective natural medicine. Uh, I personally want to see women moving through this transitional phase in their life, powerfully and coming into the next, third of their life vital and resilient and being able to show up in the way that they want in their lives as leaders in their community and in the world because I think we need feminine wisdom in the world. That is a big driver of why I like to work with women in this age range and support women to be healthy and strong as they move into this phase of life because the menopausal transition can be really brutal for a lot of women. And it can impact your health in negative ways. Sometimes women get to postmenopause and they say they feel incredible, like they feel better in many ways than they did a couple of decades ago. Uh, and some women along the way, if they didn't have the guidance and know exactly what they needed to do, they end up with, different sorts of like a digestive issue that's now there or something like that. So I want to help women to avoid that and be present and fully in their lives however they choose. And so that's the passion that I have that brought me to creating the bridge system and the Phyto-Adapt formula. If you have any questions at all, please, you can respond to this webinar in the comments, but also go to thebridgesystemmethod.com. You can contact us with any questions. We will reach out very quickly and respond to you. And try Phyto-Adapt and please let us know what you think. Let us know how it works for you. Leave a review if you want to, let other women know the effects and the impacts that this has had on you. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope this is valuable in understanding the Phyto-Adapt formula and how it is unique and a powerful support for you in the menopausal journey.